Well, guys, it's the last day of summer school, and
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I know that summer school probably wasn't like the exciting thing on your agenda for this summer, but I appreciate you guys so much for showing up and for your willing spirit and your flexibility and your understanding when I was trying new things and they maybe didn't always work exactly the way I thought they would.
So is it any wonder people are afraid of technology?
Technology!
And in this last day of summer school, we're going to wrap up our conversation about author's perspective. If I followed my plans in the way that I anticipate, we've already done our practice for today. We've been looking at some passages and identifying words that have connotation and identifying the author's tone in each passage. Remember that tone is the attitude the author has toward the subject of the piece. So if we've already practiced, why do we have a video? There's one last little detail I want to talk to you about, something I want you to consider as a reader when you think about author's perspective. We've been talking about how authors have all of this freedom when it comes to choosing the words they use in their pieces to describe their subjects. One thing that I don't think you consider enough is that authors also have a choice in which details, facts, and information they include in their pieces. That is also based on their perspective and their attitude toward the subject and what they want you, the reader, to take away from their piece. This one's a hard one to practice unless we have lots of passages on the same topic, but I did want to show you one example so you understand what it is I'm saying. Let's look at this passage about Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers.
Thomas Jefferson, founding father. Thomas Jefferson was the third president of the United States. His tombstone reads, "Here was buried Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of American Independence, of the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and father of the University of Virginia." Notice anything odd about this inscription? There is no mention of him being president. This is because Jefferson did not see his presidency as one of his greater accomplishments. Jefferson strongly believed in people's ability to manage their own affairs. He wanted to keep government small and out of the public's life as much as possible. This ideal of self-government became known as Jeffersonian democracy. Jefferson worked tirelessly for freedom of speech, press, religion, and other civil liberties. He pushed hard for the addition of the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. Many people remember Jefferson for writing the Declaration of Independence, but he made a lot of other contributions to American society as well. Another great achievement came during his 2 terms as president. The U.S. purchased a vast region of land between the Mississippi River and the Rocky Mountains from France. This deal, known as the Louisiana Purchase, nearly doubled the size of the nation. In his later years, Jefferson designed the Virginia Capitol and his famous home, Monticello. He founded the prestigious University of Virginia. He also sold his library, 6,400 volumes in all, to Congress. In short, he began the Library of Congress. Jefferson died on July 4th, 1826. His spirit and ideals impact and inspire us to this day.
So this author does give kind of a mini biography and talk about Thomas Jefferson's career, but the real focus seems to be on Thomas Jefferson's contributions to the early United States and American society. Although there isn't a ton of connotative language that shows that judgment, the things the author chose to focus on help me understand how the author feels about Thomas Jefferson. If you talk about someone and their successes and their contributions, that seems like a positive overall perspective. I would say that this tone is reverent, which is a fancy way of saying respectful and honoring. Now let's look at a different passage.
Thomas Jefferson, Liberty and Slavery. Thomas Jefferson helped to create a new nation based on individual freedom and self-government. His words in the Declaration of Independence expressed the aspirations of the new nation. But the Declaration did not extend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to African Americans, indentured servants, or women. 12 of the first 18 American presidents owned slaves. Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration and called slavery an abominable crime. Yet he was a lifelong slaveholder. Fearful of dividing the fragile new nation, Jefferson and other founders who opposed slavery did not insist on abolishing it. It took 87 more years and the Civil War, the Emancipation Proclamation, and the 13th Amendment to end slavery.
Whoop. Pump the brakes. Although there is yet again not a lot of connotative language, words that show judgment, there is a detail that is included in this piece that was excluded in the last one that really changes my perspective as a reader. So we're still talking about Thomas Jefferson, founding father, author of the Declaration of Independence, the man who said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. And he owned enslaved individuals? That detail was not mentioned in the previous passage about Thomas Jefferson. Why would the author choose to leave that out?
I don't know. It's a mystery.
Obviously, we know that the ownership of enslaved individuals is a terrible, terrible thing. In the previous passage, the author left out this detail because his or her purpose was to educate you on Thomas Jefferson, and the perspective was that Thomas Jefferson is honorable and worthy of respect. Now, knowing that Thomas Jefferson did own enslaved individuals doesn't mean he didn't contribute to the founding of our society, but knowing that detail does kind of make him seem like a hypocrite in some ways. So I didn't choose this passage so that we could start a debate about whether or not Thomas Jefferson is respectable. I chose this passage because it illustrates how easily authors can write about a subject and leave out crucial details that will impact you, the reader's perception of that subject. And why we're ending on this note, guys, is because this is my big thing about critical reading. Authors are in the business of selling you ideas. That is their whole purpose. If you are not educated on critical reading, you will buy any idea that anyone tries to sell you. However, if you are educated on critical reading, you'll know what to buy and what to pass on.
I'll take it. Okay, let's see what this baby can do, huh?
That's why English teachers always ask you to have multiple sources when you're doing research. It's not because we are cruel, evil, sadistic masterminds. It's because we want you to see that every author does come to a piece of writing with a certain perspective. And if you don't look at multiple texts, you're not getting a complete picture of your subject. You're getting one person's perspective, and that's it. So, be critical, question everything as you read multiple sources on a subject so that you get the whole big picture and you can make informed decisions yourself. Don't let anybody tell you what to think. So that wraps it up for summer school. Again, thank you so much for your participation, and I hope you all keep in touch.